Hello, everyone. I just want to take a moment today to talk about being cautious with fires in the prisons and jails, inmate fires in the prisons and jails. Yes, it is our job for care, custody, and control. When there is a fire in the prison and jail, it affects everyone. We don't want anyone to die from asphyxiation or smoke inhalation, and it's our job to save lives. But we have to be cautious when approaching the fires that inmates may have set intentionally. Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories. Please subscribe if you like this video. Now, we all know already, or hopefully we all know, that inmates have set fires in many prisons across the countries, started riots and burnt down the prisons, tore up the prisons, set their cells on fire. Gang members in prisons have set fires to try to burn other gang members. So we know this exists. But how often when we go to work every day and walk into those behind those prison walls or jail walls, how often do we think about things that can happen, emergencies that can occur while you're on shift? How often do you think when you go to work about, if there's a fire today, how will I respond? And I just want to take a couple of minutes, not a long time today, to talk about using your thought process while walking into that prison or walking into that jail and switching gears, switching from your home life to driving to work to getting your mind ready to go into work. It's always a good idea to think about what could happen. And fires are something that can happen. And fires are something you need to think about, and that's the topic today. You're responding to a fire in a cell, and an inmate's yelling for help. My cell is on fire. Yes, we must respond. Yes, we must get the inmate out of the cell. Yes, we must extinguish the fire. But please be careful. Why is the inmate's cell on fire? Did he intentionally set the cell on fire? And then when you come to help the inmate, will the inmate jump you? Will the inmate attack you? Or will the inmate even grab you and try to throw you in the fire? So please call for backup. Have backup there. Have your fire extinguisher ready. Be ready with more than one person to open that cell door and go in and help. But before you go in, don't rush in. Never rush into a situation, even if it's a fire. And I know your mind is going to be thinking, I've got to save this inmate. I've got to get this inmate out of the cell. Well, listen. Stop, look, and listen for just a second. Make sure your backup's there. Hey, you got the fire extinguisher ready? Ready. You ready just in case something's going to happen? Yeah. Boom. And then pop the door open. Pop the cell door open either with your key if that's the way you operate, or look at the control room and call for them to pop the cell door. Then be ready and be aware and be alert and have your head on a swivel. The inmate may be trying to lure you into a trap. I have no problem if the inmate does try to attack you, just to use that fire extinguisher on the inmate and the fire. Put them both out at the same time. But grab the inmate, get him out of the cell, take him down, and cuff him. Okay? Might not even be a bad idea. Look at your prison or jail policy and procedure on responding to fires. Know all your emergency escape routes. Please know your emergency fire policies and procedures for your agency, for your prison or jail. Know all of your escape routes, where to get the inmates out, where they have to go, where your agency says they should go, where you should stage them. And also know what to do in case of a fire. Firefighting for corrections is mandatory. I think it should be taught at least once a year within your annual training. But I know that many officers only learn firefighting for corrections during the academy. When I went to the academy, we actually went to the firefighters training area, and they ran us through a lot of different courses, and then I never saw it again for a long time. And then when I went to the sheriff's office, we had an annual training with the firefighting and tools that are used within firefighting. So I think everybody should be aware of that. Be aware of how to get out of a dangerous situation with a fire. And I wanted to throw that at you to remember, some fires start by electrical issues, some fires start, by natural disaster, but many of the fires are started by the inmates themselves, and there's a reason they're doing it. Either to hurt another inmate, start a riot, or get out of that cell, or hurt an officer. For example, with a riot, we had a riot at DeSoto Correctional Institution where the inmates were very unhappy because a football game was about over and it was lights out and the officer turned the game off, and they got mad and started to riot and they broke the TV, and then they set things on fire. That's one incident you have to be aware of. The other incident is single cell fires. Excuse me, we have a lot of mentally ill inmates now that will do anything if they can get their hands on some matches. Very dangerous situation. We have a lot of gang members, and yes, they will start fires. That's just what they do. They like to tear shit up and start fires. So we have to be aware of all the different situations that can happen when there is a fire. Don't just rush in, be a superhero to save everybody. Remember, stop, look, listen, make sure your backup is there, make sure someone has a fire extinguisher, someone is handling the cell door, and maybe one or two more to help assist with the inmate getting them out of the cell. And always be aware of an inmate setting you up by setting the fire themselves in their cell. It happens. It's happened before, and it will happen again. It's just a short video to try to jot your memory on something to think about when you go to work. And every day, think of a different emergency scenario as you walk through those doors that could happen. It's good for your mind to think over these scenarios and look where you're at. When your boss assigns you and you say, okay, I'm working this dorm tonight, what could happen in that dorm? What type of inmates are in that dorm? Are they faith-based inmates? Which, look, anything can happen in any dorm. It doesn't matter, but still, different dorms have a little different situation, a little different setup. Know the setup of the dorm, know your area, and know your prison, and know your escape routes. Thanks a lot, Gary York, True Prison Stories.